cool. So y'all can hear me all right? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, welcome everybody. This is the second time we've done this, Lawrence?
Second, yeah.
Second, okay, so the very second installment of San Antonio New Tech. So welcome. Obviously, we're really excited to get this, really awesome program back running again. Post-COVID, things are coming back, so really excited to see that. We've got an awesome panel for you today. I'm Hiram Skaggs. I'm the Chief Growth and Innovation Officer of Evolve Human Optimization Labs here in San Antonio. And I'm going to have the rest of the panel introduce themselves. And if you could, say your name, the company, and what you solve for or what you're doing.
Awesome.
Hello everyone, my name is Christian Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Developmate Incorporated, based proudly at Geekdom, right downtown San Antonio. What we're doing at Geekdom with Developmate is we're looking to build a site-finding AI. So current state, we have clients where we optimize for their criteria to locate real estate pieces of property that match those criteria. We're working on automating those processes so we can do that at scale and service much more clients.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Martini. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wasteaway. We're an on-demand trash service provider. We're using a model that's similar to DoorDash, so essentially we're like the DoorDash of trash. We're using contracted drivers to help create solutions for residents and for businesses here in San Antonio.
Cool, and I'm Zach Brown. Just like the country music singer, only a little less talent and a little less money. My company is NonprofitsHQ. So we're building an AI-powered platform that brings all of the tools that nonprofit organizations need into one affordable spot. Yeah, cool.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna have a really good time here. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna ask a question, and we're gonna kind of go popcorn. So I'll pass it to whichever of you feels, I guess, like you've got an answer right off the top. So I'll let the other two think a little bit. So the first one up, what are the two primary problems your company is solving, and what drove you to tackle them?
Yeah, we have a particular use case right now. We are helping real estate developers in the low-income housing tax credit space identify pieces of real estate that qualify to help build affordable housing, right? So we're solving for taking really complex criteria mandated by the government and helping build low-income housing units. We're 11 million low-income housing units short in this country, so we need homes for people to work, to continue to contribute to our economy. The other side of this is I'm solving, I think, for the GIS problem, and what I mean by that is GIS software is not necessarily scalable. It is a very kind of complex analysis that occurs within that software, and so building this AI that we're kind of going after is like automating data pipelines, it's cleaning data, and automating certain analysis so that we can do this job faster and at scale.
Well, trash is something I think that's plagued us all at some point. We've all missed a trash day. We've probably all done some shady stuff with trash when we miss trash day. And so the reason why that's happened is because we have minimal solutions. And so when you don't have a place to put trash goes in places it doesn't belong, whether that be on the street or a commercial dumpster that you shouldn't go to. And so we're resolving that problem by giving you instant assistance. You can get help today with your order if you needed something picked up. So the contractor drivers that I spoke on just a moment ago is how we're able to resolve that issue quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, cool. And the problem that we're solving is, it's not unique in terms of the particular space, but how we're kind of deploying it. So our AI-powered platform, and when I say AI-powered, we're not calling it ChatGPT API. We've taken foundational models and trained them in nonprofit laws, regulations in the United States. The challenge with equitable access to technology that nonprofit organizations have is it's expensive, it's hard to use. So there are programs to get technology to help you run a smooth, compliant organization, which, by the way, a lot of organizations throughout the country are not compliant in how their board of directors meetings go, how their minutes are taken, the record keeping for different parts of their organization. But the challenge is when they are able to access that or get access to tools and technologies to help them do that, if they're able to afford it, it's really hard to use. They're typically hard to set up, they're hard to configure, and then they're hard to kind of maintain over time. And so we wanted to take all of those kind of issues or all those different types of tech that organizations need, put them in one platform that's super quick to set up, it's easy to use, it has a lot of really cool fucking tech that we can play with as well, and it really just delivers or amplifies their impact. You know, nonprofit leaders already have a million things to worry about, and we believe that tech should absolutely not be one of those. Sorry. One microphone is so weird for me.
Yeah, no worries. So obviously, no company gets off the ground without hitting some road bumps, right? It's not a completely frictionless experience. What were some of those unanticipated challenges that came up that I guess you had to solve for, and how did it go?
All right, cool. I'll talk again. Yeah, so like starting a company is not easy. It's it's difficult. There's a lot of moving parts that have to happen. You wear a ton of hats. That's just part of the experience. I guess for me, you watch read these articles from YC companies. You watch Shark Tank. You watch all these things that kind of glorify building a company, and you have like $1 billion idea overnight. And that's just not at all how it works. I think resources are absolutely critical. Community for while you're building a company, resources to help you understand where you're weak, how to actually take care of things. Like for example, when we started, we were like, we built this thing, it's for nonprofits, they're all gonna buy it, done, right? And we really had to learn how to talk about what we were building, how to focus that to a particular area, right? Not all nonprofits need what we're building, not all nonprofits want what we're building. And so we had to learn how to really focus that in. And there are a ton of resources for that ideation stage. We went through the startup bootcamp at Geekdom. We went through the pre-accelerator program and won the community fund. And there are a ton of resources there for that. The challenge that I think we really hit, and that was kind of unexpected, is once you get into that stage where you are generating revenue, you are making sales, there's just not a lot of support for companies in that stage. Right, you have amazing programs through Geekdom and support from LaunchSA through that ecosystem. You've got TechBlock that has the things that they're working on for the Tech Network. You've got Capital Factory, all of these different ecosystems that really support their target audience really well. But you've got those organizations or those companies kind of in that in-between stage. And what I think really surprised me, especially when we first got to San Antonio, building our network was pretty easy and connecting with people. But finding information about how to do things was incredibly hard. There's a lot of and I'm just gonna kind of be blunt here, there's a lot of gatekeeping that the different parts of the ecosystem kind of do in terms of connections and resources and things of that nature. And I think, panels and forums like this, and we all have to kind of start working together and stop talking about those things in little silos off in the corner. We have to bring these conversations into the public. It's not a problem that Geekdom needs to solve. It's not a problem that Capital Factory needs to solve or TechBlock. It's a problem that we all need to solve, including the companies that are in what's kind of known as that valley of death, right? Fucking die or help solve it, and that's really what we got to do. But I think that was one of the biggest unexpected hurdles that we encountered. And you can relocate to another city, right, which sucks. And we need to figure out how we can all work together to make San Antonio not just a place where you can build an amazing company, start an amazing company, but grow, and more importantly, stay. How do we position San Antonio to be a place where companies can start, be successful, thrive, and grow, which then contributes to the economy, builds up San Antonio as kind of that startup place. And I rambled, but I'll pass now.
You made me so pumped.
It's just what are the challenges? Like what things, hard knocks do we take?
Christian's ready to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, thanks. It's been a long couple weeks. We've been building some processes at the company, so I've been sleeping much. But what I'll say is, Zach, I think is absolutely right. I've gone through all the programming as well, had conversations with Geekdom in particular, we'll call them out. And what I'm looking for is what I think Zach has touched on in that last point, is a place where maybe all the resources are pooled and people are working together to help companies survive the valley of death, so call it, right? Like, you can go through programming and you can get the marketing spiel, you can get the pitch deck, but at the end of the day, all that doesn't matter. right? When you're actually building a business, it's the insurance, it's legal, it's your contracts. How do you scale your actual business? Right? How do you continue to make money? And how do you grow it, right? Because at the end of the day, like I want to be here in San Antonio, and I know if I grow my business, I'm going to hire people here in the city too, right? So I think there has to be more serious conversation, right? Like pre-accelerator, incubator, those are great for funneling businesses up into past idea stage. Now what are the resources after that? And winning a pitch competition is awesome too. It's cash to the business, right? But I'm talking more about bringing in experts, diagnosing the business and helping you get past one, right? Like at the end of the day, we all want another rack space, right? We all want more than one. We want 10, 20, whatever, right? We want to help the city grow. So that's kind of what on that track. Like I definitely agree with Zach. The other side of it, personally, I definitely had to shed some founders. That was a challenge. What I learned from that is, contracts are important. Protecting yourself is important. And you gotta be slow to marry people. That's what I've come to learn.
Those are both tough answers to follow, but I think the challenges that we've experienced are a little bit different and maybe not a problematic challenge. It's something that's going to be beneficial down the line. But what we found with our business is we initially wanted to tackle trash, bulk, recycling, but it seems like the options are endless, and so you can easily fall into this space where you're boiling the ocean because you're seeing where there's so much potential here and so much potential there. And when you're a small team of two, that's what we are at this point, you get stuck in that state of analysis paralysis sometimes, trying to research and know everything, but having to stop at some points to learn that the foundational pieces are so important. And once you have that in place, then you can start to build upon it. And relying on the people that are willing to lend a helping hand, that's definitely one area I've struggled. When somebody says, let me know if you need something, just knowing the weight that comes behind that, it's not just something that they're saying sometimes, they really are there to help. And so having to learn to open our mouths and say, help, please, we're drowning in the ocean that we're trying to boil, please.
Awesome, and I know along the way there have also been some victories. So what social proof or traction or wins do you have that you really proud of?
Yeah, so recently we awarded a grant from the city of San Antonio. It's a sizable grant. It was to maybe research and develop how we could implement AI into spatial data, so how you interact with the city's geospatial data. And I think, so it was great that we got the grant, but it was kind of a concept when I submitted that application. And so the more exciting part of that was, there was actually subject matter experts within the city reading my application. And they all kind of had gotten a circle and voted on the concept. So that was pretty exciting, pretty pleasing. Other than that, we're a cash flowing business, and we've been doing that for the last 2 years. So I'm almost to year 3. So if I make it to year 3, my odds of success are high, right? So almost there. But yeah, I think there's a lot of positivity on the horizon for the business.
We had a lot of high moments this summer. I'm a teacher. And so having that be my profession, having the summer off was an opportunity for us to really focus in on the business, because another challenge we've experienced is customer acquisition and just awareness of the company. Because as bootstrappers, we're operating on a limited budget. And so once we were able to fully apply ourselves, we 10x sales in 2 weeks. We have a space at Geekdom, and so it was a huge accomplishment for us. Being able to pay the bills with the money that we've made, finally, to reach that point was just amazing.
Yeah, for us, we've had a lot of highs and a lot of crap, why did I ever decide to start a company? But I think one of the biggest wins for us recently was actually our first inbound. So when we started selling this thing, we got it launched into production, and we were like, okay, crap, we gotta sell this thing, right? Let's find people to buy it. The nonprofit sales cycle is slow. It is excruciatingly slow. That's because there's a lot of kind of product diligence that has to go into servicing that kind of industry. And so like one of the biggest like wins that kind of changed the way we think about what we're doing, how we're selling it, and how we're acquiring customers was our first inbound and only inbound on our website, by the way. It's really hard to get a website to convert. Was for a kind of nonprofit incubator accelerator that it's similar to like the geekdom of nonprofits. They bring in organizations, they fund them, they help them grow. And we're talking about, with a couple of them now, about what it would take to make our product kind of a standard part of their toolkit. So as organizations come in, they receive our toolkit or our platform as part of the program, and then they go through the training kind of built into that incubator accelerator. It answered a lot of questions for us. It also helped us like kind of identify that there is like a very steady stream of revenue, right, that can come from partnerships like this. And it helped us stop thinking about sales as a kind of one-to-one type of transaction, right? You're building relationships, you are creating impact together through these types of partnerships, and that's what's gonna kind of in the future kind of be more our primary source of revenue, right? Not ignoring these organizations that are interested in using our software, absolutely selling to them and supporting them in that. But it really changed the way we think about how we're selling our product and how we're positioning our product, which has been amazing for us since then.
Well, obviously, y'all are all doing some really awesome stuff, and we're really excited to see it. If there was somebody in the audience or somebody that ends up watching the recording of this later who is a potential client of yours or could be, what would you want them to know about what you do?
Anybody that knows me knows it's really hard to get me to shut up, so I'll talk again. Yeah, so I would say for us, we built this platform as a way to make things easier for the people that dedicate their lives to doing good. We take good care, a lot of care in designing a user experience that's easy to use, that's easy to set up. Technology that really adapts to the way the organization works. Instead of people who maybe you're not very technical having to adapt and figure out how to make technology work into their platform. We just make things easier, and our stuff is really cool.
As I said just a while ago, I'm a teacher, and so what I've found over these last few years is that, and probably everybody in any profession has found, everything is becoming more and more expensive, but my paycheck is the same. And what I'm super excited for Waste Away is our ability to give back to the city by hiring people to drive for us and to put money in their pockets, because one income isn't typically enough to make it. I did a research project a couple semesters ago and found that most educators are living at the poverty level once they pay traditional bills, which is quite sad if you think about it. These professionals who dedicated their 4 years to go to school, and they're here educating the youth, and they're struggling to make it by. And so creating an opportunity for them to make money is super exciting, and I know it's going to give back to the city. And so that's one thing that we're very, very excited for.
So before I started this company, I was a real estate developer by trade. So I'm working on a problem that I experienced personally. Right? So if there are any potential customers out there, know that I've had the pain of looking through 50 different data sets and coming through PDFs and running all kinds of feasibility analysis. And so coming on board, if there's a potential customer out there, know that I'm here to solve this problem, right? I wasn't a technical founder when I started this. I've had to self-teach myself, scripting and other kind of methods for GIS analysis. And I think that just kind of speaks to my will, right? I don't want to give up, and I want to solve this problem. It's just personal to me.
All right, so everybody would love to be able to forecast the future, see around corners, those kinds of things. But I know a mentor that I had earlier on said, you don't have to get on the train, you just got to not get hit by the train, right? So if you can hear the train coming and you can feel, look for whatever the trends might be that might be potentially problematic for the future, try to forecast a little bit in that way and at least hear the train coming so you can get out of the way. That can be really, really helpful. are there any problems, or rather, what are the problems that you foresee either in your industry or something that might need to be overcome in these next steps? You know, that we're all in the valley of death here, right? So like, what are going to be the things that could cause that potential collapse, and what are you doing to try to get around that?
Yeah, so I'm actively working to solve that. So I'm going to take that as my own personal problem in my company. I'm looking to get past myself. So I have Ian right there; he's helping me. We got another guy named Bernie, and I'm actively looking to hire up on Upwork. And one of the ways one of the things first company, so I'm trying to figure out how to scale an actual organization past just one person, right? And how do you build processes, procedures, standards across the business? And so I'm looking to bring in a consultant to help me do that as well. So I think kind of one of Zach's points earlier is like trying to find resources, right? And so bringing the resources to you. Here's the thing about that though, is like you have to have money usually, right?
Yeah.
And so I've come to the point where I have resources now, so I can pay people to help me, but that is like a challenge, right? Like and we're talking about the Valley of Death, starting up businesses in San Antonio. Maybe like some kind of systematized program. I don't know, an accelerator. I don't really want to call it an accelerator. Maybe like a business diagnostic program to really help people step by step build a business, right? But for me, what I'm doing right now is just trying to take steps to implement procedures and ways to scale the business up.
I think it's fair to say that we're disturbing the market that we're in. There's nothing like us that exists. And so one concern that we've had is what happens when they do catch on to what we're doing. Although we've been given the approval to know that we don't have to work within the permits and things of the city, at some point that could potentially change if you look at the history of Uber and the way that things have changed for them over time. I think that us getting ahead of it at this point is what's going to help us.
Cool. Yeah, I think for us, like our industry, is definitely a challenge. There's a lot of unknowns in that industry, right? There's not a lot of capital for building nonprofit tech that is available. We have been connected into some ecosystems like outside of San Antonio and have started kind of those conversations. And I think, being able to, if I had one power to predict the future or see what was going to come, I think it would be interesting to see over the next few years, as our market is becoming more saturated, more companies are building tech for nonprofits, more people are investing. Bessemer invested $50 million into nonprofit tech. And so there is becoming more saturation in that market, which is going to make it harder, and it's going to make the limited capital that kind of is available limited not in terms of dollars amounts, but in terms of comparatively to all the capital that's available. It's going to make that harder to access, right? And I think, this is like a really good point, and kind of that, that valley of death and how we solve that problem here in San Antonio. This is a really good example of that, right? We speak with a lot of people that are investing capital, a lot of people that are investing resources and things like that in the San Antonio area. But the only place we were able to actually get forward movement and really understand what the landscape of investments or resources into nonprofit tech looked like was outside of San Antonio, right? And I'm not saying that we need to bring all of that into San Antonio, although that would be amazing. There's a lot about this city that, the community, the collaboration, that would be amazing for businesses and for moving forward. But we had to go out and find those networks and kind of inject ourselves. I kind of bulldozed myself into a couple of those networks outside of San Antonio. And what that does is that, for a minute we were even thinking, well, maybe San Antonio actually isn't where we can grow and where we can be successful. And I absolutely hate that, because we came to San Antonio specifically. So I think even if we're not able to, at least initially, bring in a ton of capital and a ton of amazing things for each individual industry, I think we need to have some sort of collaboration that's able to help make those connections, that's able to help make those introductions. And what that will do is solidify the fact that this is where you can build, this is where you can grow, this is where you can be successful and stay. And I don't know if I answered your question.
I think it was a little bit about the vision too, right, or the future, future issues. I can apply a little bit to that. Being on my, I think one of the issues that I might face, or the business might face in the future, is kind of like Zach's point. There is definitely more saturation happening. What I'm noticing though is, you have a lot of GIS backgrounded, engineers who are building cool tech, but they have no real use case for it, right? So as we continue to build, I think we have our use case very clear cut, and we know how to make money from it. So that's one of our advantages on how to kind of navigate to the future.
I love that, and I know we've seen all three of you doing really amazing things that we really want to support. How would somebody support best? Like, is this like book meetings, or introduce a nonprofit? In your case, ask somebody to refer.
Yes. So I'm looking for particular skill sets, actually. People with GeoPandas, PostGIS, PostgreSQL. Let's see, GeoAI. So they're like Apache Spark. Like any of these individuals, would love introductions to them, so we can add them to the team. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah. So for us, absolutely. Everybody knows a nonprofit. Everybody knows somebody that works or is affiliated with a nonprofit organization. Connect us. Let us learn from what they need. Let us figure out how we can continue to build tools that actually make a difference, that actually amplify their impact, and give us the opportunity. Let us show off what we're doing. I think connections, and this goes for any industry, not just our industry. Connections is a big thing. Everybody says what is that cliche, your network is your net worth, or something like that? Yeah, and that's so true. You have to build your network. You have to get yourself out there, talk about what you're doing, even if it doesn't mean a sale, even if it's not a hard sales conversation. Let's just talk about what we're all doing. And if I can do the same for anybody else, if there's anybody in my network or anybody that I can make a connection to, let's do it. I'm happy to do that. But I think working together and building and strengthening networks and really getting the word out about what all of the companies, the amazing companies, are building in San Antonio is going to be critical for that.
A referral is going to go a long way for us, whether that be somebody individual or on the B2B side of things, property management, moving companies. There's a lot of options that we could have here, but just getting our name out there and letting them know we exist. Other areas where we've kind of struggled a little bit is finding local companies that allow us to place dumpsters on it, where we could be allowed to rent space from them, just to place a dumpster on it. So we've been reaching out to different companies, and we've had some lackluster success there. But as the business does grow and expand, I know that we're going to need that. And the plan eventually is to have our own property to place those things on, but in these beginning phases, if there's companies that that would allow us to place a dumpster on that we promised to take good care of, we would love that connect.
Awesome. We're about to move on to the question and answer portion, where we allow y'all in the audience to ask some questions of our panelists here. But before we do that, can we get another round of applause for our panelists? All right, so if you have questions either generally or for a specific panelist, now's your turn.
Did you, of you three, did you guys decide on LLCs or S Corps to start with, and what was your motivations behind that?
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the use case, right? So is your intention to raise capital? Do you want to be a sole proprietor or a smaller business? For me, at some point, I think raising capital makes sense, so a corporation makes sense. It's the only one that you can use to sell shares with. And we actually, instead of doing an S election, we did a C, right? So it's a C Corp. S election, there are some implications of taxes and distributions at the end of the year. So we're just a regular C Corp. And then it's also about liability too, so protection. Strongest shield of protection is your corporation. So maybe you want to do that. But there's a lot, so caveat to all of that, there's a lot of maintenance that comes with a corporation, right? So one of the things people don't tell you is, you have first your incorporation, all the documentation related to that, making sure it's correct. And then, you have you can set your board meetings, you usually have a board, you have shareholder meetings, what I would say is, depending on what you want to start, If you're going to raise a lot of capital, maybe a C Corp is the right way to go. But if you're going to start capital light, maybe the LLC is a better fit. Just kind of depends on what you're attempting to do.
That was a great answer, and well, absolutely. And what I would add to that is, especially if you're starting out as a solo founder, like a solopreneur, LLC is a really easy way to go. It's a really easy way to get started. You can always convert to a C corporation when it's time for you to raise capital, when it makes sense. There's a lot less maintenance and complexity. We're also a C corp, but there's a lot less complexity and maintenance with an LLC that will get you started, get you legal, get you going, and then when it's time to raise capital or change your corporate structure, you'll probably have a lot more guidance at that time, what direction to go. If it's an investor saying, I invest in this company, or if it's whatever you're trying to do. But you can always convert. You're not married to one thing, it's not set in stone.
You just can't convert back. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't go from corporation to LLC. So when you want to be corporation, be prepared.
Well, we started off, we're LLC status, we're veteran-owned business. But I actually just had a talk with the hiring this week, and he was like, for $300 you need to get this S Corp. So I think it's something that is, in the future, it's gonna be happening for us.
Any other questions out there? Jack?
All right, for the trash, first off, as a veteran, I think it's like $50 if you file in the state for a C Corp. But I'm also interested in, are you already establishing yourself like an Uber to where you can customize my trash service? Because I don't fill my bin up, and I'm paying for a full service. Are you customizing that to where you can become my normal provider, and you just do it whenever I need it?
Could you summarize that question just so we can-
Sure. So are we eventually going to be a trash provider that could take over your current services? Are we structuring our business? That's what you're asking.
And more like Uber is, right?
Sure.
So I can hit Uber and say, pick me up, right?
Yes.
And I can market that in Austin and in Corpus and in Dallas, just like that. And that's why I'm kind of curious where you're at right now.
Yes. So if you live within city limits, you are required to have the city services. But for anybody that lives outside of that, we can be more like a subscription-based type of service. And it's extended beyond trash into recycling and bulk as well. And so ideally, yes, we do want to be able to venture into that, and we are structuring ourselves to be able to handle that in the future as well. I want to make sure I touch on everything you said. What we found in some of the more rural areas is that they don't have traditional trash services. And so or if they do, like you, they're paying those costly expenses to not utilize those services. And so we would be able to fill in the gap. I could see also being beneficial for Airbnb owners or anybody that's renting out their property where there's not somebody that's living there permanently. And so we would be able to do that. The model is being structured to have scalability and to take it into other areas as well. You're welcome.
What's your question?
Have any of you had to pivot yet? Have you gone through your first pivot or your second pivot? And what did your first revenue look like? How was your first sale?
Yeah. Have I had to pivot? Kind of. The delivery, yes, a little bit. Yeah. So I think it's honestly kind of a constant pivot. Like you're constantly reiterating your product to make sure that it's meeting the needs of the people you're selling it to. Right, so it's constantly evolving. And then the other side of that is like what my first sell looked like. So I did do the Geek Dev Incubator, and week 4 they were like, build something someone would buy, like pay $1 for. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went home that week. I already knew what exactly I was gonna do. So first things first, I sent an email out to like this mass list of people I had gathered and pitched like this concept to them, right? And sent it overnight, like really late, like 12 o'clock. Next morning, I had like 40 emails in my inbox, like, oh shit, someone actually wants to buy this. And so I started making it, right? I started I've already kind of had prepared myself using some GIS tech, teaching myself how to do some stuff. I was like, okay, well, some people want it, like I should, I sent it on a Monday, like I need to get it done by Friday. So I got it done by Friday, and I had set some meetings up to demo it the next week. And on that Monday following, I made my first sale, and it was like $7,500, and I was like, cool. right? This was like, I was like, I can make real money, and I didn't have a bank account yet, right? And so the check came like 3 days later, and I was like, yeah, I should start a bank account, because I have this paper that I can't put anywhere, right? So that's
a
how
good problem to have.
Yeah, it was a good problem. And I had a couple more at that point coming my way too, so I was like, I gotta get a bank account. So I used Mercury. It was like really easy to start. It was online. Yeah.
We've pivoted in the team. We initially were 3, now we're 2. Also pivoted in roles. So initially I wasn't in the CEO role, so that was just a more recent change.
Yeah, so for us, when we started, we were like, we want to build the everything for nonprofits. And when I say everything, we meant everything. I wanted to service business checking accounts. I wanted to service cars, like all of these things, right? And we're like, okay, we're gonna do this. And then we realized, well, shit, actually, no, that's dumb. Like, that's a lot of stuff going on. It's gonna be really hard to execute that. And so we had written like an alpha level type product that kind of did that through like BaaS, banking as a service providers and things of that nature. And like nobody was interested in it. We talked to organizations, even a good friend of mine said, wow, that's kind of dumb. And so we were like, okay, we gotta change this and we gotta figure out what it is that we actually gotta build. And so we pivoted. We started spending time with organizations to actually understand their problems. And when I say spending time, I mean, I would send an email, they would ignore me. I would send another email, they would ignore me. So I'd show up at their site. I'd be like, you need volunteers, right? And I would spend the day and see the problems that they were having, and then we would turn that into technology. And so that paid off. Our first revenue in, and this is super exciting, was 33 cents as part of a rev share on a transaction that we processed, right? That was through the initial beta program, and like that 33 cents, money in, regardless of how it comes, is amazing. You built something and people were like, I will give you money for this. That is so cool. And for us, it was 33 cents. And every year on that date, on June 4th, we are going to celebrate the 33 cents day, right? And that's amazing because that first money in was not only validating, 33 cents worth of validation, and it was motivating because we are doing something that actually matters. And from then on, we started like really fine-tuning the product and getting all the businessy stuff done. And now we generate pretty significant revenue. But like that 33 cents is like where it started for us, and that's fucking amazing.
All right, next question.
So are all of you kind of experts when it comes to like GDPR and PCI, or did you guys bring somebody else in? I know especially early on, you want to save capital, so you can't always afford to bring like PCI DSS auditors in and things like that for regulatory purposes. But so did all of you kind of have to go through the formal process?
This is being recorded, by the way, guys.
Cool, yeah, so my background is actually in fintech. So it's been in tech my entire professional career. I spent a lot of that in fintech and a little bit of that in ed tech. And so I'm gonna tackle the easy question first, the easy part of that. PCI, DSS, all those different certifications and compliance is huge. But there are also providers, and this is what I recommend to companies that are just kind of starting out. Don't try to be your merchant. Don't try to be your own processor, right? If you're actually processing and handling credit card information or other financial information, that's such a pain in the butt. It's a huge expense. It's a huge headache. Don't do it until you need to, right? There are providers out there that will process transactions for you, like Stripe, Usio is a local one. Like, there are a lot of providers that will handle all of that PCI, all of that certification for you, and then you can just build, right? Especially if your product is not payments, like if you're building payments, you can't get around that, right? But if you're not building payments, focus on what you're actually building, the problems that you're solving, and let the people that have already solved the other problems solve those for you. And in terms of GDPR, I mean, shit, buddy.
So I can say that none of us are experts on that, and we all rely on experts for that. Absolutely.
1000%.
Yeah, that's one of those things like across the industry, like there are people that are going to be experts in certain things, and you can't be an expert in everything. So that's definitely leaning on expertise where it lays, for sure. All right, any other questions? All right, I appreciate it, everybody. Can we get one more round of applause for our awesome panel? Yeah, here, do you
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
Or Lawrence, do you want to?
No, go for it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this event tonight was brought to us by several sponsors. Tech Block for providing the space, Coffee Consulting Group, and Project Cowork. All of these groups kind of put together, put in things to help make this possible. Also, big thanks to Geekdom and DevSA for not just this event, but the events that the efforts that they put around all other SA New Tech events. Now, this happens quarterly.
Quarterly currently, but we're obviously, this has been a huge turnout, fantastic success. We appreciate everybody coming out for the founding of this, or the refounding of this. We've all been talking, we're planning on putting this, there's obviously value in the community. Everyone seems to appreciate it, so we're gonna come out with a monthly format. We'll grow from there. So come out with us next month. We'll have to find a tentative date. We're planning it right now as I'm talking, so roughly around 9/29 plus or minus. We'll get dates out in the group and let everybody know. We have an event on 10/29 lined up, so we definitely know we got that one. We just need to get it firmed up on the dates, what have you. We'll have it here again. If there's any thoughts, feedback anybody has, we're an open collaborative community, so we're excited to have y'all here and we'd love to have you back. And if you think there are ideas and changes that we can make to be better next time around, we're here for it. Yes, food was sponsored by DigiBoost.
Well, awesome. Thanks, everybody. Let's do some networking and kind of hang out from here.
Zach's like a participant and an MC.
Yeah. Well, and next month he's invited back. Sure. Everyone is invited back. Thank you. No problem.
Yeah, thanks for remembering that.
Let's do it. Let's fucking do it.